everybody. Thank you for taking a little time today to come and meet us and talk with us. My name is Brianna Mezek, and I'm the director of the Michigan Integrative Wellbeing and Inequality Training Program. And with me, and they will introduce themselves in a moment, is Monica Firestone, who is our fearless coordinator and who is the person that you will have a lot of contact with in the course of applying for the program, and dear friend, Dr. Erica Spears, who is one of our very first trainees, who's here to share a little bit about her experience and also just kind of answer questions that you may have. So we have a few slides that we wanted to kind of do as part of the info session, and then the goal here is to answer your questions. So I should say, so we started MIWI in, I think we were funded in November 2019. And when the world fell apart in March, along with the co-directors of the program, who at the time were Dr. James Jackson, Dr. Robert Taylor, Dr. Clea Caldwell, we got together and we decided whether we were going to go ahead with the Summer Institute in June as planned, even though it was going to have to obviously be fully remote. And I am so glad we made the decision to do it, and I am so glad we did, because I really think it has made our program stronger. And Dr. Spears, who will introduce herself in a moment, is was part of that first cohort. And then I'm so excited. Now we're recruiting for cohort 6. We've been successfully renewed. And so it's really been an incredible experience. So I'll be happy to answer other questions along the way, but by way of introduction, it's thank you for being here. And I'm looking forward to kind of sharing a little bit about our program this evening. So Erica, do you want to go next, and then Monica?
Sure, Bree. Good afternoon, everyone. As Bree mentioned, I'm Erica Spears. I am very proud to say that I was a member of the inaugural MIWI cohort. At the time, I was an assistant professor. My background is in public health with an emphasis on chronic disease prevention and health disparities research. I currently serve as the Director of Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning for Louisiana Public Health Institute, which is a statewide nonprofit in Louisiana. Happy to be here with you all today and offer an MIWI participant perspective.
Hi, everybody. My name is Monica, and I have been with MIWI since the beginning, back in 2019, and it's been so incredible to watch the program grow over the years. I'm the project coordinator, so I send out emails, I coordinate the in-person institute, and just a lot of the administrative work that helps the program run is what I do. Prior to MIWI, I was an elementary school teacher for 10 years in DC. So this is a bit of a pivot, but I think it's a perfect pivot. And I love MIWI, and I'm so excited. This is our first information session, so thanks for coming. So excited to do it with all of you.
So when I was starting to think about the developing this training program, which is the first training program I've ever directed, I thought a lot about the experiences I'd had as a trainee and what made those experiences special. And a lot of that came from working with people like James Jackson and like Clea Caldwell through the Center for Integrative Approaches for Health Disparities, which unfortunately has been sunset, but at the time was a large P30 center here, which part of what made that experience really exciting is that we got together every year in Jackson, Mississippi, which is a place I'd never been to before, and kind of talked to people about disparities in cardiovascular disease, because this was a partnership with the Jackson Heart Study, which is a large ongoing cohort study of African Americans in Jackson, Mississippi, as the name implies. So it's sort of getting together to talk with other people at the same stage in my career, talking about research. The other thing that was really influential in planning MIWI was experiences I had in summer training programs like the Advanced Research Institute for Geriatric Mental Health, which is directed by Marty Bruce, and I think that's been going on for 15, maybe 20 years now. And that brought people together for just a short period of time and different people every year, but really focused on, again, trying to figure out ideas, and then also partnership, mentorship, one-on-one meetings, having a mentorship team, etc. And then the third piece was just the fact that my own interest is in psychiatric epidemiology. I tell students I'm not really interested in public health unless it's mental health, and even when I study things like diabetes or related conditions, I really think about them from the emotional side of what it's like to live with those conditions. And so those three things kind of came together in again, thinking about my own kind of training. And then what I also felt was that it was really hard to actually get training on biology and social aspects and psychological aspects without getting like another master's degree or something, you know what I mean? And frankly, as an adult learner, like especially for people who are post PhD, you don't need to go take another class. What you need is application to your own research. And so that's really what we try to address here. And so as you can see here, like our focus is really on trying to understand the intersection of mental and physical health. We have a specific interest in understanding that intersection within a context. That context is a social context, an environmental context. And so that means that we do a lot of interdisciplinary team science, which I think we'll show you about in the next slide. So one of our things that we ask everybody at the end of their year with us is we ask them, how do you Venn? That is, I ask people to draw their Venn diagram of the sort of three kind of big ideas that motivate their research. And this is our Venn diagram kind of pulled apart for what it means for MIWI. That is, we think about conceptual models and how those models that we have inform our study design, how our study design informs the approaches that we use. And then all of this is embedded both within a scientific kind of integrity, if you will, like a sort of focus on reproducibility, on robustness and rigor. I'm sure you've heard these terms, but like what does that actually mean in your work is not always clear. And then we know that the conceptual models, the study designs, and the analytic approach have to be embedded within communities and context. So some of the work that you'll hear about during this webinar, we have folks who do entirely qualitative work, who are, from this perspective of anthropology. We have people who do a lot of community engaged or community embedded work. And then we have people who are economists or health economists or sociologists who spend a lot of time just working with data. And the part of what is the beauty about this program is that understanding that each of those folks has a model like this in their mind or in their work that motivates their work. And it's not about you changing your model, but it's about you sort of improving strengthening the methods that you use to are interest in the questions that drive you in the questions that you answer. So go to the next one, please. Thank you. So one back. So how we work. So we are a hybrid program by design. So I mentioned in 2020, we were fully remote, but I'll tell you, as soon as we could get people here in Michigan, we did, which didn't end up being till November 2021, but it was wonderful when we could finally, and it was kind of incredible that we could get the connections virtually because I felt like I was just at a family reunion, frankly, when we got to see everybody in November. But the way that this program will work for you, barring another environmental catastrophe, is there's a 3-day residential institute. This institute is in May this year, May 2025. Weather's going to be gorgeous here in Michigan. That 3-day institute is actually preceded, well, I'll show you in a second, by meeting your mentorship team virtually. And then that mentorship team works with you throughout the course of the 9 months of the program. And then the other piece of this program that is kind of really become a more focus of us as we've been able to grow over the years is network building in terms of your research network. So when you enter into MIWI, so again, applications, we'll talk about this in a second, are due in February, and decisions will be made hopefully by the end of March. It always a little depends on when we can actually get together for our meeting. There's a pre-institute welcome webinar. We do a needs assessment to understand who's in the cohort, what strengths do you have, what are the areas you want to focus on, because we use that information to develop or refine, I should say. We have a core curriculum, but we have parts of the curriculum that we change year after year to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the specific cohort of scholars that are coming in that year. That Summer Institute is then followed by a post-institute year, which continued webinars. We have we use a professional development plan that is paired with monthly check-in reports. These are your accountability buddies to kind of help you make sure that you're sticking to what you said you wanted to do. And then we also really focus on long-term plans. So all of our cohorts are invited to our post-institute webinars. As Erica will be able to tell you in a minute, we have an alumni peer program. So where the alumni are now doing some of the training, and then once the alumni are promoted, if you're successfully promoted, because we focus on early career faculty, then you get to become a full mentor. We invite you to become a full mentor, and Erica is an example of that. So we're really trying to build this network and have established some structures for making it happen. So as you probably know from the website, we are looking for people who have a terminal degree. So the reason for that is that our focus on this training is really just not appropriate for somebody who's still in a doctoral program. That is, we're going to be talking about things about, you should be thinking about you're ready to start your first project, like your first thing, not your, what your mentor was working on, but what you want to work on. We love, it doesn't matter what that degree is in. And the, again, the focus is really, we welcome any discipline. We would love you to be working on health and or health disparities work. That is, you should have some peer review publications. You don't need to have had a grant yet. In fact, it'd be great if you were working on your first grant. That might be something that's something you could work with us. We want you to be willing and able to participate in all parts of the program that I just explained to you. So the pre-institute webinar, the 3-day summer institute, the ongoing mentorship. So we really strive to have full engagement over the year. We think we have sort of there's sort of a minimum dose that we sort of think is going to be effective for helping you accelerate your career and kind of really change the field, because frankly, that's the business that we're in, is trying to change the field of interdisciplinary health research. And so we want to make sure that we can, we have a program that we think will help do that, but we want to make sure you're able to fully engage. And so that's that last piece. One of the things we like to do is this gives you you can tell your chair or your chief or your supervisor, whoever that person is, look, I've just been accepted to this program, and in return, we want them to tell you, yes, I support you in doing that, and that'll, helping to make sure you carve the time out to helping to make sure they protect your time in the way that you need it protected to fully engage in the program. So our scholars are a lot of different people, and I think this is where I'm gonna I'll say a few things about this, and then I'd love Erica if she'd be willing to tell a little bit about how her work has sort of when she was beginning into the program, and maybe share a little bit about what sort of why she was a good fit, or why she thought she was a good fit, which she was. She's an excellent fit. So we have, as I mentioned, we have people trained in many different types of disciplines. So medicine, nursing, physical therapy, kinesiology, epidemiology, psychology, gerontology, like really, we are literally discipline agnostic. Those are folks, so if you're more in kind of the social science field, you often want to develop expertise or some skills in biomedical training, or maybe working with biological data, even if you still got you don't want to collect blood, but you want to, work with biomarkers. Maybe you're interested in stress and how it affects the body, for example. Those are those sorts of folks. We also have folks who are they already have that clinical training, and what they'd like to do is get a better understanding of the social factors in people's lives or structural factors in people's lives. Maybe they hear people talking about social determinants of health, but they don't really understand what that means or what that means for their project, for example. So we have folks like that. And then everyone in some way, shape, or form is doing work on either health disparities or kind of minority health or kind of and that might be the area that they're hoping to get training in. So you might sort of not necessarily consider yourself a minority health or health disparities researcher, but frankly, I think I can't think of a single health outcome you could be studying in which it would not be enhanced by understanding how larger structural factors shape risk and outcomes for those diseases. So, and the last thing, the most common, frankly, the most important feature of all of our scholars is that they value interdisciplinary collaboration and they want to learn skills in team science, that they want to be not just members of those teams, but they want to be leaders of those teams. So let me pause here and ask Erica, maybe if you could just say a few words about what you think about who are MIWI scholars.
Sure, Bree. I will speak mainly about myself and represent cohort 1 a bit, but I would say I'm an interdisciplinary team by myself. And part of my journey to MIWI, I had training in communications, I had training in public health, my postdoc was in social epidemiology, and part of my interest as a researcher was always this composite big picture about how social structures impact historically marginalized populations, particularly Black and Brown communities. And what I found when I was on the job market and had my first assistant professorship is there were a lot of people that were interested in the skill sets that I brought to their institution, but not necessarily mentors that were prepared to train me, like Bree mentioned earlier, around what I wanted to do and what I was best equipped to add to the field. And so there was a lot of discussion about, hey, maybe you should study this instead of focusing on health disparities in Black women around diabetes. How about alcohol? And how about white populations? And that was just very discouraging to me, especially since a lot of my identity is involved in who I identify as a researcher as well. So finding the opportunity to join MIWI, I found a lot of scholars that had trained similarly to my training, where they had been perhaps influenced by different disciplines or even had an interest in interdisciplinary approaches. They had maybe an institution that loved the idea of what they were doing, but weren't necessarily prepared to mentor them and having the skill sets that they needed to develop. Like Bree said, you might have gotten a doctorate in anthropology, but now you want to focus on social epidemiology in a way, and getting another degree is not necessarily the best way for you to do that. And coming to MIWI, I had access to scholars from a variety of different disciplines, from a variety of career perspectives. Like Bree mentioned, we became our own peer mentors in my cohort. Part of what Bree mentioned about the engagement, I learned so much from the people I was in a cohort with. I've also written with those people. I've also written with mentors that were assigned to me in the program. And like Bree said, I'm 5 years in now, and I've become friends with those people. I've mentored with those people. I've written with those people. And so MIWI to me it came at a very pivotal time in my career. It helped me, as Bree mentioned, identify who I wanted to be as a scientist. And it gave me space to ask those questions of myself as opposed to other voices telling me what I should be. MIWI really created an environment for me to express what I was interested in, and then give me tools to make that a viable career opportunity. I could talk for another hour minimum about this, Bree, but I'll stop there.
Thank you. No, that was wonderful. Thank you. And I really, this is not, I want to, I'm just so thankful that we were, because I think that who I want to be as a scientist, I think is sort of, that puzzle. I don't even know if that's not the right word, but is so hard when you're early in your career, and people seem to think you got it figured out and you don't have it figured out, but you don't know who to ask and especially when you're at an environment, or even frankly, if you're in a discipline, even if your institution's supportive, if your discipline sort of doesn't understand what you want to do, or, you're going to have trouble getting papers published, you might have trouble writing grants, and so, but this is exactly what we need in the field. We need people who want to think differently about the world and about sort of how we improve health outcomes. So, excuse me, my dog needs attention one second. So, Okay, there we go. Go ahead. Sorry, my husband's just come home. So let's move on to our next slide real quick, and then I think we'll just have a few more. So, yes, so this was one of the things when Erica and Monica and I were talking about how do we, what would be good for an info session. This was one of the things that Erica had suggested, sort of like, what would make you what would make you a good fit for our program? And I think these are some of the things that both we talked about collectively, and then Monica and I kind of brainstormed some other things. But Erica, just not to put you back on the spot, but could you maybe say if there's one or two things on this slide that really stand out to you as sort of things that for you indicate this is why this program is was a good fit for you?
Thank you. I'll go with bottom left and talk about conduct research at the intersection of physical and mental health. I think conceptually you all wouldn't be on this call if you didn't understand globally like what that means and what that looks like. What I found in practice though is exactly what Bree described a moment ago. You have mentors that had training and this is our model historically in one discipline. And so they can give you information on how to talk about the bio pieces, or they can talk to you about the mental health pieces. But to have a team of interdisciplinary scientists that if I talk to Bree and she tells me my background is in psych and epidemiology, but I have 4 other people that are focused in diabetes or are focused on intersectionality in Black women or are focused on health behaviors that have a psychosocial component, et cetera. And that gives space for me to generate my own ideas and figure out, not just based on what's possible in my institution, but being able to broaden my net and hear from others on how this might be approached or the validity of my question. It was never, for me in MIWI, it was never, are you good enough to be here once I got to MIWI? That was a question I asked myself when I applied. But once I got there, it was never, are you good enough to be here? It's like, we think you're brilliant. How do we connect you to who you need to be connected to so you have the support for the next steps of your career? And additionally, I think Bree talked about this a bit. I'll go with, are you writing your first grant or have big ideas that you're wanting to shape? I think those feed off each other very well. When Bree mentioned fit, I think it's a great opportunity for those that are like finishing a postdoc, that are getting ready to go into academia, that are even in their first or second academic position, but you're really, as Bree said, trying to move to the next level in your research agenda. When we're talking about tenure and promotion, the metric is frequently like your ability to be an independent researcher. And in the systems that we often work through, it's, there's an interest in supporting your work, but there's not necessarily a mechanism to help you develop in that work. And especially for those of us that find ourselves on the borders of different disciplines, there's not always the support for you to figure out, like, how do I establish an independent research agenda using the tools that are in front of me. MIWI has connections to so many mentors in so many different disciplines. I cannot imagine a question you can come up with that we don't have somebody that has expertise in that and has had the same questions you've had about, how do I make this viable? How do I get this funded? Where's the place to get this published? Because my traditional discipline home is not the place to do that. So I think all those questions I would sum up with saying, like Bree mentioned earlier, MIWI's not expecting you to come with those answers. They're expecting you to have those questions and to be open to the feedback and to participate in the process and to engage with the mentors. But if any of that sounded like, yeah, that's what I need, MIWI's where you should be, I promise.
Thank you, Erica. Monica, so again, we just have a few more slides, and then we have a short video that we'll show you with some other scholars, just to kind of share a little bit about their experience, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So these are some, again, just frequently asked questions. We get these questions, every year. Again, I think that I want to kind of emphasize the last two. I think those are sort of the most important. So if you're if you're pivoting, so if you're kind of not early career, and by early career, I mean, I'm not talking about chronological age. I'm talking about, you're again finishing up a postdoc. Maybe you've made a career switch. Maybe you're, if you have tenure somewhere, for example, or a leadership position, it will be, you would need to make it very clear why what you're trying to do is very different, and how there's no other way you're going to be able to get there. Because I think part of what we do, and I emphasize this, is because I've sort of talked about cohorts. We do think about it as a cohort. We think about we bring in 15 people each year, and we don't just think about how the mentors are going to work with those 15 people. But as Erica sort of illustrated, we think about how those 15 people are going to intersect with each other. And sometimes it's just around professional development stuff. Sometimes it's, oh, I heard of this. I go to this meeting. Do you go to that meeting? Oh, I've never heard of that one. Like maybe that's one I could go to. And so it's helpful to have folks who are in a similar career stages, because we also build additional training, as I mentioned at the beginning, in terms of the needs assessment. Some of those needs are methodological and some of them are professional. And we know that you can't do one without the other, that a successful career involves both. And then the last one is just like, when's the best time in your career? So again, I would just say when you're ready to kind of start really crafting your research agenda. We have had people apply multiple times if they didn't get in the first time, and I will provide feedback on the application. And I think those are ones that have been really helpful to us. Like sometimes it was just sort of sometimes it's about the writing, sometimes it's about just not the right stage in the career, for example. But I just want to encourage you that we're focused on early career, but it's really about the fit is around being able to help us understand how this is an important, like kind of an inflection point, if you will, in your career. Go to the next slide, please. So I'm sure you know all of these things, but we can talk about, or sorry, you've probably seen on the website, I should say, not that you know them, but so applications are due February 1. So our application is pretty straightforward. We need a CV. We need a 3-page document that should include about a 1-page personal statement and then about a 2-page research proposal. So we know you can't say a whole lot in 2 pages. So what am I looking for in those 2 pages? I'm looking for a clear research question that is important to know the answer to. I'd like to know a little bit about how you're thinking of answering that question. So I'd like to know about your general design, maybe how your approach, maybe if you have a data set. But I would also say those are things that we work on over the course of the program. And so as Erica said it beautifully, that the idea is that you're going to come with these questions, and that above and beyond anything else you sort of tell me in your research plan, being able to help me understand why this question that you're interested in is significant, why it's innovative. That's what's going to sort of help us understand where you want to go, because then we use that information not just for selecting you into the program, but for pairing you with your 2-person mentorship team, one of whom is a co-director of the program, and then one of whom is an external mentor, like somebody like Erica, for example, serves as a senior mentor for our scholars now. And so it helps us understand a little bit more about you, certainly more than we could ever understand about the way you think about problems than from your CV. So thank you, Monica. Yes. So these are things that are features of strong applications. This upper right one is so important. So what? You found out the answer to your question, so what? And the answer can't be, and then we would do more research. And I don't think probably any of you are interested in those types of questions. In fact, probably the reason you're here is because you're interested in questions that are tangled up in a lot of different ways. And there might be 15 different ways you could look at it. We again sort of help us understand what you hope to get out of the program. If there's a specific skill set that you'd like to learn, if you could sort of even if you're able to illustrate that. I've in my research plan, I've proposed a mixed methods project, but I don't have experience doing quantitative methods yet. So this would be something I'd really need to develop my skills in that. This is something I want to learn. Tell us a little bit about how your disciplinary kind of perspective has prepared you to do the work or informs how you think about problems. And just to kind of remember that we are a training program, we are looking for potential, not perfection. And that really it's about the articulation of the rationale, and that being able to clearly communicate that part of it. So, all right.
Hi, my name is Dr. Charity Watkins, and
Can you turn
I
it up a little bit?
am a professor of social work at North Carolina Central University, as well as a Birch Scholar at Duke University focused on maternal health.
Hi, my name is Heather Farmer, and I am a MIWI alum.
Hello, my name is Tara Bautista. I'm an assistant professor at Northern Arizona University, and I participated in the MIWI program in the summer between finishing my postdoc and starting my tenure track faculty position. So MIWI helped me transition into my role as a faculty member. It helped me find my identity as a principal investigator, and it helped me build my research lab and my team.
MIWI has been really instrumental in getting me here, down to helping me develop my research goals, my aims, and really helping me to kind of fine tune what direction I want to go in. And
It provides writing groups, which I help to organize and lead. It provides workshops. It provides lots of information on opportunities all around the country for professional development and growth. And what I really appreciate about MIWI is that we have opportunities for one-on-one mentoring with established scholars in our field.
But it wasn't just a few days in the summer, it's an ongoing support system. I still regularly check in with all the MIWI faculty members whenever I need help with something or whenever I have good news to share.
I would say that MIWI has helped me with not only my research, but also my career goals. I was struggling quite a bit when I first joined MIWI as a cohort 1 member. And through the friendships I made with fellow cohort members, we actually still stay in contact now after these years, as well as the amazing mentorship I received from Bree, as well as Dr. Daphne Watkins. It has been absolutely amazing with helping me to develop some clarity in how to move forward with my career, how to grow where I'm planted, and how to really make the best out of all situations in order to have the impact that I would like to have in terms of maternal health.
Most importantly, I think that MIWI has helped me address challenges that I experienced in academia that I often felt were unique to me, such as fitting in. It's helped me deal with imposter syndrome issues, and reminded me of my place in academia and that I belong.
You'll get out of MIWI what you put into it. And if you're looking for connection to help guide you through academia, you can find that at MIWI. Just don't be shy to ask for help and to tell them what you need. Now, as a MIWI peer mentor, I stay involved in the program and offer help to the current scholars. We're building an inter-cohort network that grows every year.
And if you have the opportunity to apply, please consider doing so. It is an amazing community, an amazing opportunity, and just so many different chances for you to explore who you are as a scholar, but also potentially as a person. So I hope you make time to apply to this amazing opportunity. Thanks.
It's the best.
It was so nice, Monica. I actually hadn't watched it all the way through yet. I was just, I'm gonna try to not cry. So just a few last slides, and then again we'll open up for Q&A. So I think it was Tara in that video who just sort of mentioned about this cross cohort connections, and you can actually see that here. This is a showing connections between our existing cohorts 1 through 3 here. The blue are people who are more kind of clinical or health services oriented. The yellow are folks who are, more social behavioral sciences, and you can see we're really trying to foster those connections. And also just, I wasn't joking when I say that we're really discipline agnostic, just kind of give you an example of the folks that were in the first iteration of the program. And I think this is our last, yes, so now Q&A. So Monica, I think if you can stop sharing, that'd be great.